Welcome to the Spirit of Business, episode number 44, The Purpose of Purpose, with Matt Murphy and Sarah McCrum.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Matt. I keep hearing you talking about purpose these days and working with businesses on why they're in business and expressing that clearly. So I'm really curious why you're doing that in the first place, your why for talking about business why, and what difference it's making.
It's made a massive impact for my business, but also for the businesses that I've helped grow and develop over the years, because it provides the ultimate alignment piece for the whole organization. It also provides a lens in which all your decisions that you make are put through that particular lens. And it's the attractor for clients that want to work with you, and also team members that might want to work with you as well. So for me, it's the most powerful piece, and it's a starting piece. And without it, you don't get that accelerated growth and development in an organization. So it was pretty powerful, and it started for me probably 10 years ago when I came across Simon Sinek, who famously put together the why and linked it back to the brain, and sort of started to unpack why there's organizations that are very, very successful in the world, and why they're successful. And typically it comes back to this purpose, or the why piece, which it connects to the different parts of the brain and why we make the decisions that we make. And for me, that was pretty powerful. And he, I think he's got the third most watched TED Talk in the world from that. And he created a book called Starting With Why. And for me, it was just a great sort of simplistic way of starting to think about what's the formula of the things that we need to do inside of a business to make them very successful. So sort of, as you know, Sarah, a bit obsessed with sort of formulas of why things work and why things don't work from a business point of view. And I know that we debate the word formula as to whether it's a very sort of commercial linear equation as opposed to a something that you can't always formularize things, which I know. But the why thing is the foundation piece for me from a formula perspective. So it's made a massive impact so many times for me, and the joy that I get from sort of talking about this stuff with business owners is to see the connection that they finally get where they may have been disconnected with their businesses. But all of a sudden, when you start to talk to them about why they went into business in the first place, what their purpose is and their journey, and to see the expression on their face when they start to connect the things together is just, it's wonderful for me. There's a massively selfish element that I get out of doing this, because I see such great joy when people connect the things together and they say to you, I haven't solved these problems ever in my life before, and now that I am, and it gives them a really strong motivator, I suppose, at the end of the day for themselves and their business.
Can you give some examples? Because I know that I come across people, and I think sometimes, especially if they're doing a business that they've been doing for a long time, there can even be some fear around engaging with purpose. I often meet people who say, oh, if I really thought about my purpose, I would have to give up what I'm doing now. So there's a fear in thinking about it even. So I'm wondering if you can tell some stories to illustrate the power of it.
Yeah, it's really funny you say that. Just had one just last week where I was speaking to one of my clients that I've supported their business for many, many years, and they've had great success. And we reflect about their purpose, and they struggle with it themselves, because they often think their purpose, one of the business owners talks about it as it's just to make money, to provide for my family. And when we speak about that, we say, well, you're an intelligent person, you have choice. You could do whatever you want to do. You can make money doing anything. So you obviously choose to do it for a particular reason. So there must be some connection there. And I was talking to him about that, and it's been um, confronting for him. And I remember it being confronting for me too when I started to think about it. And Sarah, you and I have had lots of conversations around purpose and why.
I do
And
remember the time when you said, I don't want to talk about it, Sarah. That just makes me feel horrible when I start thinking about purpose. I know that it was a real struggle at times. So.
it was, and I'm glad that you persisted and held my feet to the fire, so to speak, and made me keep coming back and addressing it because it is so important. And I think why we react to it so much is that we start to think about what's the point of life, what's the purpose, why am I here, what am I doing, and they're big questions to obviously answer, and difficult questions. And when you start to open them up, and you can see that you're probably not anywhere near feeling like you have any connection with purpose, you can send you into a very difficult place. It can send you into a place of depression too if you're not careful around some of these unpacking some of these questions. And so I have to be very careful and responsible when I'm talking to other people about um, this thing about purpose, because it can start to bring thoughts up around, well, what's the point? Why am I doing it? And a lot of people don't want to address it because they think that, well, if I realize that this business is not my purpose, then I'm going to be disconnected with it and the whole thing's going to fall apart. And there's probably an element with that with me that probably made me question it and probably not want to address it and face it as well. But I can assure you, as you know, and with all the people that I've spoken to, it is really, really important. So going back to this particular example, um, it's sometimes a way that you go about it. So I often talk about the people that seem to attract to our business, and what I call them plainclothes rebels. And what I mean by that is that they're people that look like normal people in the world, for want of a better word, normal, but very mainstream sort of type people. But they just have this burning desire to do things differently. They're not happy with the status quo. They think there can be a better way. And so, from the perspective of that, I was talking to this particular business owner last week, and uh, he loves to find a better way of doing things. And from that point of view, he started to go, oh, I love challenge. I love to find a purpose. I love to find a better way. I like to do things differently. And that was kind of part of his motivation. And then we needed to connect that with, sort of the impact or outcome. And you couldn't sort of work out what that impact or outcome particularly was until he started to talk about something else that was in his life, where he was creating a basketball competition for his children. And what he does is he started to light up, and you can see when people start to light up, that's when they start to become on purpose, as you would see that often, Sarah, in your work. And I started to see how he was lighting up from an impact point of view about children and about, helping them, have physical exercise and get away from devices and that sort of type thing that we sort of all subjected to nowadays. And I can see, and we haven't finished yet, but on the weekend I was thinking about it more deeply about his impact, and I could really see how I can connect those two things together. I was just about to write an email to him saying, hey, maybe think about the connection between the impact that you're doing in your personal life with your children's basketball competition, basketball stadium and teams, and what you do in your current business, which I can easily make the connection between the two things. So it's really nice, and when you see that, and I'm so excited to deliver that to him, because I really can see it's going to be the big thing that changes his view about his business, and it's no longer just a money making machine for himself and for his family. It becomes something of significance and legacy, and that's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember one story of somebody, and she said to me, she was running a fairly large organization in America. And she said to me, I won't be able to do my purpose until I retire. And I said, oh, so what is your purpose? And she said, you know, what I really care about is peace, and is sharing peace with people. And I said, I found it fascinating that she thought that she would have to put that off until she retired. And I said, well, it seems to me that that's the one thing that you can bring into your business now, for sure, is that you can share peace with people through the business that you're doing. And I remember so clearly she got it, and she instantly started to change the way she talked with people. And she talked to me many times after that about how every single conversation she was having, she had from the perspective of her purpose and what was important to her. And she was actually an auditor. And she had one major client, and every year as the major client's audit was coming up, she would get really stressed because being audited, nobody likes being audited, I don't think. And so that there was a built-in stress to the relationship. And actually, by giving herself permission to bring her purpose into her business, she completely changed the relationship with the client. So it became a something where she was seeing that it was helping the client, it wasn't a confrontational thing anymore. It radically changed her relationship with her team, and also because she was managing the whole business at the same time. And especially a lot of the people part of it, it changed the way that she operated with people. So people often say to me, oh, well, okay, I'll leave purpose until I retire or until I've got time. And for me, there is always one part of your purpose, which is probably not the doing part. It's more the being part. It's what I think of as the soul's purpose, if you want to put it into that language. But it doesn't matter what language you use. We all connect with that. And whether it's simply something as simple as she had, or whether it's some kind of freedom that you feel that you're looking for in your life, you can look for and express freedom in your business, outside your business, in your family, in your social life, in your kids' cricket, whatever it is, wherever it is, you can bring that part of your purpose into any area of your life. And so what I came to discover is that there are, if you like, levels. There are levels of purpose. I always think that like our fundamental purpose really is, we can put it in different language, to shine. It's to be your true self, to shine a light for other people. And I think many people respond to that somewhere inside themselves. We love to help people. We love to make a difference. We often feel like, oh, if I do something for somebody, or somebody lightens up today because of something that I said or something that I did, that makes me feel good. And that's a sign that that's related with our purpose. And then there's this being part, which is often about joy or freedom or peace or love, or these rather lofty things, but they're not lofty. They're very human, and they're the things that we long to experience. Those things we can bring into any business. You can be doing the right business or the wrong business, in your opinion, but you can bring them into anything else. And then we start to get a bit more granular, and we think about, okay, how do I express that in my business? And for some people who are looking to run a business that is directly connected with their purpose, it might be, how do I create a business around that purpose? So I found that there are different stages. There are times in life when we're working and we may be needing to work to take care of the family. And there are many practical purposes, which you just pointed out, that fit with that. For some people, there comes a point where they want to make their business really aligned with their purpose. And if you have a lot of business skill, that's a really good time to do it. It's really hard to learn how to do business and to try to create a purpose-driven business. That's a big challenge. But if you've got business skill and you start to feel like, oh, I actually want maybe a second business or a new business that's aligned with your purpose, then you can start to ask questions about, how do I bring that directly into it? And then you find people creating businesses that are helping people, that are coaching people, mentoring people, or supporting them in business, for example. So there are these different levels of expression of purpose, and it's useful to be aware of that because they help to guide your thinking about it.
Yeah, I agree. And while you were talking, then I was just reflecting about a few things that you get enormous benefit from by really understanding purpose. And one of them is the word connection. And the word connection means that you're personally connecting with your business. Others are connecting with your business. And that's I suppose, the purpose of the purpose, for want of a better word, is that real connection thing. And so you feel better about it. And then other people want to join it and become part of it, which is where the accelerated growth comes from. And that's the key, and that's the benefit that you get on a personal level, but then also on a business level. It becomes the anchor of the actual business itself, is that everything gets put, as we said before, everything gets put through the lens of that particular purpose. It becomes the starting point for every conversation that you have with people. And you've heard about the elevator pitch of how you actually talk about what you do and why you do it, and how you do it and with whom. And it's a different language that people aren't used to hearing, and it connects directly with the emotive part and the emotional part of your brain, which makes everybody connect with it. And that's the power of it. And that's why I see it over and over again, where it's just the best thing, because it feels so good personally, but also it gets such significant results from a business perspective. So, and even if you don't fully understand because my one was to guide and support and inspire business owners to satisfy and help fulfill their dreams and aspirations. So my why becomes their why fundamentally. And whilst that's been pretty much the lens that we put everything through this business, and every single service that we've ever put in place has come from a need of a business owner that needed some support around this. And we've done a great job for that over the last 20 years. But now personally, I'm starting to see that there's another level that I can take this to, in terms of supporting business owners in their quest for having an easier life as a business owner. And so there's a whole other layer of services and support that I want to now give to business owners to become, loving what they do, being connected with what they do, and doing it in a far easier way than the stress that typically we have to do it under over the years. So that my why is evolving even further into really supporting business owners in running sustainable businesses, where they're getting everything that they want to get in their life and fulfill their dreams and aspirations. And that feels really good. So even if we start somewhere in your why, it doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't evolve. I think it's something that continually evolves, and I see that over and over again with business owners as well.
I think there's something very important to talk about in there, that if you have had some purpose, you probably did when you started your business, because everyone has some reason where they start a business, and then that's driven you for a while. It's been your motivation. And then there can come a point where you start to feel confused. And that's very challenging, because if you're used to having strong motivation or a strong sense of purpose, and you start to lose that, it's like you're losing the ground on which you've stood, and it can affect every area of your life. And sometimes people feel depressed, or they get very anxious during that, or they even get sick, or they burn out because they've lost that sense of connection with their purpose, and then they think there's something wrong with them. And the real thing that happens is that as you upgrade or expand your purpose, you let go of, or you lose, the old sense of purpose. And very often you experience the losing or the letting go of the old purpose before the new purpose really lands, before it really comes in. So that feeling of confusion about purpose is very important. It's a part of the process of expanding your purpose. And I think a lot of people don't realize it. So they think there's something wrong when there's absolutely not something wrong. It's the right thing that's happening, and it's going to bring you to a new level of enrichment in your life, enjoyment, fulfillment. But you need to recognize what's going on and not freak out during the confusion stage.
It's
Because
interesting you talk about that, because that, sorry,
there you go.
where I link that to in terms of the phase of business is that business owners get to the point where they go, that's it, I'm going to sell.
Yeah.
So they end up, it becomes an event in their life, and they're probably confusing what you're talking about there, that they've lost purpose with their business, that it's actually becoming upgraded and they're going to go and sell their business. But really, they could have used that business as a platform to take them to the next level. So I'm often, challenging business owners when I hear them say, oh, I've had enough now, I want to sell, I want to exit out of this particular business, I'm done. And the questions that I often ask them is, okay, so just think about this. The day you wake up after you've sold the business, you've got no to-do list, you've got no email, you've got no inbox. What are you going to do? And that's a very confronting question for somebody. Most of them say, I'll get to go and travel and play golf and do whatever they want to do. And I said, yeah, but that only lasts for a period of time. That's called a break. But what are you actually going to do post-break and post-business? And that becomes a very confronting question for a lot of people, but a great one too, because it actually starts to straighten them up a little bit and get them focused more on the next level of purpose, which may include or may not include their current business. But I just wanted to interject that I can see that in a phase of business, and when business owners think that the answer is to sell.
Well, and I think it's worth mentioning on that topic of the break as well. I know a very successful, so one very successful business owner who teaches other people how to run a business. And he works for 2 months and takes 1 month off completely, and his team manages the business. And he does that all the way through the year. So he has 4 months off every year. We have the freedom and we have the knowledge now to be able to create businesses according to the way we want to. I don't think it was that easy to do that in the past. And you might look at your own business and say, well, I could never do it with my business. But if you said, I want to have a month off next year from my business, and you give yourself enough time, there will be a way that you can do that. And if you say, I know somebody who's, she has children. She was running, let's say, I think it was about $1 million turnover business. She was doing that. She said, I'm not doing more than 10 hours a week. And she was absolutely strict about it at every stage. She doubled her business every year at the time when I was tracking her. And she did it only on 10 hours a week. And everything else was done by other people. And she made it work. And she made it work because she wanted to. And so I think there's a lot of flexibility that we don't exercise, especially if we're in more traditional businesses. But there are people all around now proving this is possible.
Well, it's funny because you've often heard me talk about the 6 reasons why people go into business in the first place. And 2 that fit into that category is sort of work-life balance and control over destiny. And, it's starting to get people back in control of actually achieving what they wanted to achieve. And if that's work-life balance, how many hours do you want to work a week? How many holidays do you want to take a year? How do you actually want that to look? Because you do have choice at the end of the day. It's just about planning for it, as you say.
And it's also about learning it's about learning how to create what you actually want, rather than feeling that you are run by your business. You understand that you run your business, rather than feeling that you serve your business. You recognize that your business actually serves you, maybe many other people as well. And then you learn how, as a human being, do we influence and inform our future, rather than feeling that we're somehow subject to fate or some kind of controlled destiny, or I'm in this and this is the way it is, so this is the way it's going to be, so I don't have any choice. That's actually just not true. And we think those things because we haven't learned anything different.
Correct. And that's fundamentally why I run a workshop called Business by Design, as you know, which is all about getting the business owner back in alignment with their business. I won't say in control, because control is a bit of an illusion, but very much doing it more on their terms rather than on somebody else's terms. And the starting of that day is very much starting to look at, well, why did you do it? What was the purpose? What was the benefit that you wanted to get out of it? And it comes back to that same question, the why, because it is the fundamental motivator. When things get dark and difficult in business, which it invariably does, it's a thing that can sort of pull you out of that and go, that's right, I'm doing it for this particular reason. And it is the thing that keeps you going. It keeps that momentum. And where others stumble and stop, the ones that really understand this purpose and why, it becomes a motivator to continue on. And I think that's the real power, with alongside of the things we've spoken about connection, but it becomes a very strong motivator to continue on.
There's an interesting thing also in terms of life fulfillment that is important to talk about in the context of purpose. A few years ago, so for many years, all the work that I've done has been very much aligned with my purpose. I'm a coach, or I've been a coach. I've been helping people. I've been helping people with their health and relationships and money. And so it was all the stuff that I loved to do. I felt very strongly called to do, and it was absolutely my purpose. But a really interesting thing has happened probably only the last year or two. So in 2010, I wrote the book, Love Money, Money Loves You, and I had a difficult relationship with it at first, because it was a book that was written, it wasn't me telling my story. It was kind of like an automatic writing thing. It just sort of flowed through me. It was full of incredibly interesting and inspiring material, but I didn't know how to do it myself. And I had to learn. And because I felt like I was a really bad example, so I felt I was a bit of a fraud at first. And I gave myself a very hard time about it. So I pushed it aside and I kept doing my coaching. And I felt like, well, I'm really on purpose. I'm doing my coaching. I'm helping people all the time. It's what I love to do. In the last couple of years, since I started running retreats called The Consciousness of Money, so actually bringing together this money work with consciousness and energy and the other stuff that I work on, something started to change. And what I noticed is that the more I owned the book that I'd written, and the more I really acknowledged the power of this story of what happened, I ended up writing this book where it seems like money, or the energy of money, is speaking through me. However wacky it sounds, it is what happened. And the more I accepted that I was the person who did that, and there was a message through that has made a huge difference to my life, has radically changed not only the success of my business, but the way that I do business, and informs every decision that I make in my business. So it was not only that, but it was also something, it seems like a gift. The book was a gift to me, and my ability to teach is a gift that I have to share. And the more I've aligned around that, the more I've experienced this incredible enjoyment in my work. And it's a whole level above the enjoyment that I had before when I was doing work that I loved. And it's the enjoyment of feeling direct fulfillment in the moment of doing it. So rather than finding my fulfillment by achieving something, the fulfillment comes through actually doing the work itself. So whenever I start to talk about money and our relationship with money, whenever I start teaching people, whenever somebody interviews me, whenever I'm engaged with it, writing, whatever I'm doing, I feel there's that immediate sense of fulfillment. And more it's flowing into my life as well, so that it's flowing into my personal life and just the way that I run my life on a day-to-day basis. And I wanted to talk about that because we look so much for fulfillment, but our tendency is to look for fulfillment by achieving something and then I'll get it. And actually what happens is that little by little, as you align more deeply with your purpose and in India, they talk about dharma, which was a word I never understood. I feel like I'm beginning to understand it. It's kind of like, it's almost like your spiritual purpose, or the deep purpose of your life, that thing that makes you feel that it's purpose, that you feel right from the inside of yourself. This is me. This is what I'm here for. This is what I've chosen to do with my life. This gives me the deepest satisfaction in my life. Then you bring fulfillment right into the heart of your business. And then it's not so much about when am I going to exit or how much money can I make from it. The money comes because you find so much fulfillment in it. You put your heart into it. You love doing it. And of course, money's going to flow from that. You don't have to do things to make money. It's like money comes because you do things. And that's another level of shift into.
And that's exactly right. Like this is the thing that I see, to talk about accelerated growth in a business. And really that's the money coming is this accelerated growth concept. And it's because it's such an attraction. Like when somebody's really on purpose and aligned with their the strategy of their business and themselves and the connection between the two, it all morphs together. People want that. They become attracted towards that. They want to be part of it, whether that's sort of team members joining the organization or whether that's customers and clients who want to be part of it. I mean, Apple have done a phenomenal job in terms of that. There's iconic stories where people have actually got that right. And it is the thing. It's the starting piece, and it's the piece that does make the biggest difference. And we speak about, you're speaking about your purpose, Sarah, and you used a word that I really connected with when you said it. You used the word prosper, and
prosperity.
So prosperity, and so prosperity is a word that I think, that's a really cool word. I can connect with that emotionally and think, I want to be part of somebody who is there to teach and support and guide and influence and motivate me towards prosperity, because it's prosperity doesn't necessarily just mean money, wealth. It means wealth in general, across physical, mental, soul, and everything that you sort of align together. So I think that's why I love talking about it, and I could talk about it for days, as you know, and I typically do in some of the things that I do. But I just think it's been such a wonderful thing for me to really get to understand and know and see the benefit and results for people in their own life, but also in their business life, which is the connection between the two things.
So if somebody is listening to this and it's making them feel uncomfortable, it's making them feel like, this is something I need to pay attention to, where would you suggest that they start with that? Because I don't like to leave people hanging, feeling like, that's important and I have no clue what to do. At least there's something for them to get started with.
Sure. I think first of all, I spend a lot of my life, and you probably do too, Sarah, that normalizing things. And what I mean by that is that it's normal to feel probably disconnected and disengaged and probably not really knowing what your purpose is. So the first point is that don't freak out and feel
please
like
don't freak out.
there's something wrong with you. It's actually there's something right with you, I think, is probably the starting point. And
you're asking the right questions. That's what it really means. You're starting to engage with the right questions, which is a very important thing.
And that's the point. So the starting point is not to freak out. And I have freaked out in the past, as Sarah's witnessed, and when she's pushed me on this particular point, but in a very guided, nurturing, supportive way, where she was going to catch me if I did fall too far. And so where you don't have that sort of support around you, I think the first point is that it's okay. It's normal. Most people feel this particular way, especially as business owners. And from there, it's about the journey. And the journey starts with asking the questions, but then being kind to yourself and being soft on it. So it's not like you have to solve it immediately. This is a journey, and it's a long journey. I mean,
It's a lifelong journey.
It's a
Really,
life.
it will continue.
It is.
Your purpose will continue to grow and change for your whole life. So it's not we're going to solve this like a business problem and then it's done. It's completely different from that.
Exactly. And so, obviously there's a lot of material out there, and there's books to read, and I sort of referenced, Simon Sinek in TED Talks, and he's got books out. This is, Sarah's got work on this particular space, Sarah, and I have as well. So you certainly can connect with us and ask the questions around, what do I do next if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable? And I've got to say that if you feel uncomfortable, that's a great place. And every time when Sarah and I speak together, if ever I say, I don't know the answer to this, Sarah, I don't know what to do, I'm a bit lost, and she said, great. That's fantastic. Because it means that I'm in a place where I'm disturbed enough to do something about it, and that's a good place to be.
Yeah, and the thing that I would say is that you can very gently start to look for what lights you up in your life. Just simply what is there, whether it's something to do with your kids or your partner, might be some tiny part of your business, it might be something you do outside your business, but just start to connect with what lights you up, what makes you smile spontaneously, what gets you out of your head and out of all that thinking and strategizing and makes you feel like a kid again. That might be just something that makes you feel alive. Start exploring that, because purpose is very much about what makes us feel alive. And some of us have switched off our ability to tune into that and to connect with it. So it's like exercising a muscle, your aliveness muscle or your light up muscle, just to start to observe yourself. It's like, I felt really good while I was doing that. And then I felt awful while I was doing that. And if you can feel your way, it will start to exercise the muscles you're going to need as you explore your purpose, because purpose does not come from a mental exploration. It involves all of you. It's about the whole of you, and you are far more than a mind. So that will just start to warm you up so that when you get into the deeper questions, you're ready for it.
Another thing, just as an extension of that, is the exercise of gratitude, and just finding and being grateful on a daily basis for certain things is another starting point too, to see, talking about what lights you up or what you actually enjoy to do. Just finding that you're grateful for certain things that are going on in the day. They're just little exercises and little things that you can do to start that journey that Sarah just spoke about then. So that's great. Great.
Well, we've broached the topic of purpose quite fully today. I'm sure it will come up again and again and again. But it feels great to have this dive into it, because it does make so much difference. And of course, it's the thing that people are searching for so often and are not quite sure how to find it. So it's really important to talk about it and explore it.
It's been a great chat. Thank you for asking the question and introducing the topic, because you know that I do love it, Sarah. So thank you for allowing the time to have this conversation today, because it actually makes me feel great and gives me joy to have these conversations.
That's what we're looking for. That's it. If you could see his face now, you'd see the smile.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to The Spirit of Business with Matt Murphy and Sarah McCrum. We'll be back next week with another episode. You'll find the show notes with links and other useful information on our website, spiritofbusiness.live. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your friends.